Hey there, fellow travelers! Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're back in very hot, very humid South America. We're actually here in Brazil, where I used to live, and today I want to talk about are the 5 things you're going to love and maybe not love so much about visiting South America. And the thing is, this is an amazing continent to visit, amazing place to go, from incredible people, food, all kinds of fun and stuff. But, you know, there are some bad things like sweating through your clothes before 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's where I want to start off. But let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. We'll start with the bad one. And that really is the weather, specifically the heat and the bugs when you come to South America. And the thing is, you got to realize that South America isn't just one country. It's not homogeneous. I talk about that in another video. But honestly, the weather you get all over will be different. But one thing that's constant, when it is hot, it is really hot. Like, you need to be careful. You need to be hydrating a lot when you are here. And remember, you're pretty much anywhere you go in South America, you're going to be doing bottled water, not tap water, okay? But that heat, yes, you'll be dripping wet, and that means you need to plan accordingly. You're not dressed up in fancy stuff. You're not wearing tight-fitting clothes because it's not going to be very comfortable, okay? So do be aware of that with the weather and the heat that's here. And along with that is I want you to kind of consider the weather in terms of the time of year you're going to come. Now remember, South America, the seasons are flipped. So when it is winter in the U.S., it is summer in South America. Hence why I'm filming this in the Brazilian summer and not in the U.S. summer, because otherwise it'd be rainy and gross. And so you really got to make sure you're planning for that, because that's where I've seen a lot of tourists get upset. Like, oh, I went down, you couldn't really go to the beach in Rio. No one was at the beach in Rio when I went in July. Well, yeah, because that's like the coldest month of the year for them. You wouldn't go to the beach, in January, would you? No, of course not if you're up in the U.S. So you have to think about that. But I want you also to think about is with the weather, realize like if it's rainy season in certain places, that might mean things are closed, or there might be certain times where it's such low traffic in terms of tourism, they might close completely down. That's why it's important to do your research to know the season, the weather that you're going to have when you're there. But realize you're going to be drippy like this as well. And I know I mentioned weather, but also I mentioned the bugs. And honestly, the bugs here, we're talking like, is that a bird, a bat, or a bug? Because they can be big, and they just love that sweet blood of tourists. They will eat you alive, all right? So make sure you have some really good bug spray. And throughout South America, I found they have really good bug spray when you're here, so be good with that. But yeah, you got to lather up. But I would definitely bring some Afterbite or something, because even if you douse yourself in all the anti-bite stuff you can and anti-bug stuff, they're still going to get you, okay? So be aware of that. And I guess I should mention this one as well, because it's not really a weather thing, but it's something that could affect you where you're going to go, is also altitude sickness. If you're going to Ecuador, and you're going to be going to Peru and going to Machu Picchu and Cusco, or you're going to be hiking in the Andes, in Chile or Argentina, altitude sickness is a really big thing. Like, that's one of the big things that gets tourists when you're here, and you're not going to love that. That's horrible. So, getting oxygen sometimes is the best way to kind of get through it. So don't be scared to ask for oxygen, okay? But that's kind of like the first thing you're really not going to like. And that's really the only big thing that I really like, it's a good thing, but the weather's so great, but then other times, like, I just feel so horrible and gross because I'm just dripping with sweat everywhere. It does happen. Not everywhere, but it does happen. But let's talk about the fun stuff that's here. Like, what's the thing you're going to love? And this is one thing that we love about coming to South America. And the thing is, every single country you go to has some amazing beauty, natural beauty to check out. Yes, like I said, you have all the biomes you've ever thought about in Ecuador. But you know the Galapagos Islands as well. Chile, when you're going on the coast and seeing the most amazing sunsets. Argentina, you're going to Puerto Madryn and you're seeing the whales going by and the penguins that are there. I mean, Tierra del Fuego, you're going down there to see them. It's your stepping off point to go in Antarctica. There's so much natural beauty here. You really can't go wrong if that's something you really enjoy. And our kids tend to enjoy that a lot more because they're outside. So our kids actually love coming to South America more than going to Europe because they get to do more stuff that's outside, okay? And that's the thing, is another thing that my kids love and we all love. And the second thing you're going to love about coming here are the amazingly crazy, fun, amazingly awesome people, culture, sites that you can do and enjoy and get to know when you are here in South America. Because honestly, you want people that are going to welcome you in, make sure you're eating right, care about you, all kinds of stuff. South America is fantastic. The people here will go out of their way to make sure that you're having a good time. You have the right food. They'll come and talk to you. Even if you don't speak Spanish or Portuguese, but they'll talk about it in a sec. But honestly, those people that are here, the cultural sites you can go to. Yes, you have Machu Picchu in Peru, which is world famous, but you have all kinds of stuff. Seeing Christ the Redeemer in Rio, or maybe you're going to Argentina and see the dancing in La Boca. You have all kinds of great cultural things you can do. And for me, the festivals in South America are next level. Yes, we all know Carnival, but Carnival isn't just in Rio, it's throughout Brazil, it's in Argentina, it's all over the place. And so you have these festivals you can really enjoy. And I've been in Bariloche where they're having the city festival. And you're like, this is so cool. And you can have it where there's like a festival about music or a festival about art. There's so many great festivals to go to when you are here. Make sure when you're checking out your itinerary for South America, see if there's any festivals you can go to while you're there, because one of the best places to try some of the foods that are here, meet the people that are there, like, hey, tourists at our festival, what's going on? I found that to be amazing. And honestly, that's why I love coming back to South America so much, are the people, the culture, all the kind of fun things you can do when you're here that you don't realize you're missing out on if you're not coming here, all right? But I think one of the things that scares people off, and something that you're probably not going to like, so kind of our second hate, it's not really hate, but second thing that tourists don't like when they come here is really you need to know some Spanish, or if you're in Brazil, Portuguese, when you do come down to really get the most out of your experience here, because there's not a lot of English spoken. I know in tourism spots, they do speak English somewhat, but not everywhere. And if you're going outside of the big like Rios and Sao Paulos and Cusco's, you're going to like the secondary places, you go into Bonito in Brazil, which is a bunch of ecotourism, English is a little harder to come by. And so you do need to make sure you do know some Portuguese when you're here, right? And so like, hola in Portuguese is hi, and obrigado or obrigada if you're a woman is thank you, or in Spanish, hola is hi, and gracias is thank you. Little things like that go a long way here, because honestly, the average person you meet on the street will not speak any English outside of maybe like Batman, Spider-Man, the like basic kind of beer. Like they'll know the basics things maybe, but you really have to know that. And that's what I think scares off a lot of people for coming to South America, is the fact that, well, I don't speak Spanish or I don't speak Portuguese. And yeah, remember, Portuguese is in Brazil, pretty much the rest you're doing Spanish, right? There's the 3 countries at the top that have other stuff, but most tourists don't go there. Guyana and those, you're focusing more on the Spanish and Portuguese. So do learn a little, because it will go a long way. Because that's one thing I tell people. Brazil is my favorite country to go to if you speak Portuguese. If you don't speak Portuguese, it's a great place to visit, right? And so that's what kind of the mentality is. You have that ability to get really more out of your trip if you do know the languages. But that's one thing people kind of don't like. Another thing people don't like when they come to South America is you really need to have patience, like for everything, like sitting down and getting your food, getting your tickets, any kind of government bureaucracy thing, traffic, the lines, getting to the airport, security lines, everything takes time. And you cannot get frustrated, okay? Because I see tourists get so mad at the locals, like, what's taking so long? Why isn't this faster? Back home it is this way. Look, you just got to chill out when you're here in South America. I mean, this is why South America is really great for like chillaxing out, like, I'm hitting the beach, I'm having some beers, I'm just chilling out a bit, because that is the mentality here. And you have to have that. And some tourists get really frustrated. I've seen it many times where I've seen tourists yelling at service staff. I'm like, dude, this is just how it is here. It takes time. You got to have it. You got to you're walking down the beach, you're chilling out, okay? You want to go to the game, take your time to get there. That is one of the things you got to realize, okay? And that's where tourists really get upset. It's like just the slow pace of things here can be a bit much, especially like if you're in a hurry. I've got to get to the airport. Yeah, in South America, you need to get to the airport a lot earlier than usual, okay? This isn't a last minute, I'll hop through the security line. Those security lines can take a long time when you're getting in here, okay? That's why it's important just to pack your patience when you come to South America, because you will use it quite a bit, just like you're going to use a lot of sunblock when you come here as well, all right? Now, another thing I think annoys tourists a little bit when they come here are the long-distance buses. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to take a lot of buses when you're here. There are flights, like in Brazil, you've got Gol, which goes all over, Latam, there's Avianca, there's other airlines that'll fly around South America you can use. But in general, when you're going around, you're going to be taking buses. And if you're going to be taking buses, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to like it if you don't get the right bus, because you pay for what you get. In those long-distance buses, I mean, we're talking 24 hours from Buenos Aires to Puerto Madryn if you want to go see the penguins and stuff. And I've done it where I paid the extra and got like the fancy, like lay down seat. There's coffee whenever I wanted it bus. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, there's one that's like half the price. I'll take that one back. It was a bit more comfortable than a, school bus ride back. And my back, I don't think my back's ever been the same since. So that's one thing, is you're going to have a lot of long distance buses. So make sure you have something to make it comfortable. Have the charger, like the backup charger to charge your phone when you're on there. Maybe have that little neck pillow for those bumps. But honestly, the long distance buses, so much time you lose in those buses, that is something that gets a little frustrating, because you're like, I want to get there sooner. But realize it just takes a long time to get there. So it's not necessarily a hate, it's just a fact of life when you come here, right? Now, I know I'm talking like, oh, they're not going to like the long distance buses. You're actually going to love the long distance buses because they're so cheap. Even the expensive ones are actually relatively affordable. And that's another thing about South America that people love coming here for, is just how affordable it can be to enjoy South America. Whether you're going to Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Colombia. I mean, oh my God, Colombia is just gorgeous, right? And you can do it at a fraction of your European trips or your U.S. trips. Now, I will say the flights down to South America can be a bit much, but when you're here, it is just so much more of an affordable place to be. I know when Wolters World first starting out and we didn't have enough money to do like long European trips, we would come to South America and be able to do a 2 or 3 month trip for the price of 1 month in Europe. So that's one thing I think people don't realize, is you can really get a lot of bang for your buck when you come to South America. And that's what I really love about it. I'm not going to say it's super cheap. Now, some places in South America really are super cheap, but some places aren't super cheap. They're just affordable. So do be aware of that. But it is a really nice thing to know that your money goes a lot farther. And here, when you're spending money and you're tipping people here, that money goes back into the community because people stay there. You're tipping those things. They're locally owned, right? It's not like usually chain stuff all over in South America. It's locally owned stuff. So you'll feel good that, yeah, it's affordable and I'm giving the money to the thing and I'm not spending a lot, but I know that money's staying in the community. So you kind of feel better about it as well, right? And that's another thing. It's like, I've seen over the years, the fourth thing you're going to love about coming to South America is just how good the tourism infrastructure, how much it's improved over the years. I've been coming to South America since the 90s, okay? And that's a long time, I know. And I've loved it. I've seen how things have gotten better. Yes, I know I said you gotta know some Spanish and Portuguese, but English has increased a lot. The tourism infrastructure, the hotels, the safety of the hotels, the tours that are on offer, the guides that are out there have just gotten so much better over the years that if you don't want to do it, you're scared to come here, someone help me do it all for me. There's so many companies that can really do a great job of showing you everything here because that tourism infrastructure really has exploded and done a really great job of improving over the years that you really can do it all without having to do anything. And the thing is, as great as the infrastructure has gotten, now things have improved a lot. I think the fifth hate I got to tell you when you come to South America is your safety issues. And yes, there is a safety, like you hear about the crime in Rio, that is an issue. And you're going to certain parts of Buenos Aires, you got to pay attention. Like there is that kind of crime you do need to pay attention to. It's not everywhere in South America. You can have a great time in different countries. You can have a great time in all the countries that are here. You do need to pay attention though, because petty crime is not there. It's something you got to think about. So if you're renting a car and driving around, you never leave anything in it where people can just smash and grab, because you might think, oh, it's only $1 or a peso or whatever, a real. Someone might want that. So you got to be really thinking about those things. So there's the crime side, but also the safety of that sun. I was talking about the heat. You really make sure you protect yourself and the altitude as well, because I see a lot of people go hiking in Ecuador and Peru. And they're like, oh, it's not that cold. It's like 75 degrees, but they get burned so bad because they're so high up and the altitude that they actually get burned even worse. I mean, you go to Lake Titicaca in Peru and they'll have you float out on a boat to go to the floating islands out there, and people just get like burned so bad their skin is peeling off. Like, oh, but it's like 60 degrees. It's not even hot. You know, it's like 15 or 10 or whatever Celsius. And they don't realize it, and that can be really dangerous. So you got to think about the heat, the sun, the bugs, like I talked about before. You got to worry about that. The altitude, when you're at those higher altitudes, it's not just about the sun, but the difficulty in breathing, like I talked about before. But also, you know, the fact that you do need to drink pretty much bottled water almost everywhere in South America, that can be another thing you got to be careful with, the water problems and water issues that are here. But I will say one of the security things, there's safety things I don't think you need to worry about too much, is you'll see some electric showers where you're in South America. Don't freak out when it's plugged into the wall right next to the shower. You're like, am I going to kill myself and electrocute myself? No, you're not. You don't need to worry about that one so much. But it might happen when you are out and about. If you want that hot shower, it might be sparkling hot, or sparky hot, I guess I would say, right? So that would be one thing I think to really focus on. That's something your safety issues you do need to pay attention to. Let's finish off with something you're really going to love about coming to South America. And that's the fact that South America gets a fraction of the tourists that you'll see at sites in the US and places in Europe and Southeast Asia. I mean, it's you and the locals when you come to South America. So you get to meet the locals, you get to talk to the locals, you get to eat with the locals, you get to drink with the locals. And it's not like a tourist trap kind of thing. It's just a fantastic continent that you could go and explore, whether you're up in Colombia or you're down in Chile. There's so much to see and do without 900 Instagrammers trying to get a picture with wings or do a, oh, here I am with the hot air balloons behind me kind of stuff. No, it's you and the locals hanging out at a bar. And yes, it's going to be a bar where you're sitting in plastic chairs and a plastic table, drinking a really ice cold beer and waving at people and meeting the locals and having a good time. That's what I love, because there's so few tourists that come here. And that's why when you look online, you don't see a lot of content on South America because not a lot of tourists come here. So the Instagrammers don't come here. The YouTubers don't come here that much because they're not seeing South America because they don't go there because there's not a lot of tourists there. And that's one of the best things about it is that you are one of a fraction number of tourists that actually come here and get to enjoy the countries because South America is wonderful. And if you're getting outside the Rios and the Quitos and stuff, you really start to see that, wow, there really are no tourists around here and I can really learn the culture. So if you want to learn a language, you want to learn Spanish, you want to learn Portuguese, come down to South America. You can find a language school that'll teach you and you can meet locals to practice in the evening, no problem. And it's wonderful. So those are my 5 things that tourists tend to love and maybe not like so much when they come to South America. What are the things that you love about South America? What are the things you don't love too much about South America? Let us know in the comments below and have a great time traveling to South America. I can't recommend it enough. Bye from here in Brazil.